Peace and prosperity, everyone. Brandon here with the Structure K9 Academy, back again with another reaction video. Today's video is a little bit different than the videos I've been doing before. Today, we're going to actually review a police K9 scenario, right? Well, actually, it's not a scenario. It was actually a real situation where the police had to deploy his dog on a bad guy that kept advancing forward towards him. So obviously they were trying to apprehend the bad guy, or giving him commands to get down on the ground, put his hands behind his back, you know, the typical stuff, right? And the guy wasn't complying to their commands. So as you're going to see in the video, they had to deploy their dog now. So of course, I'm going to break everything down in the video. Now, I will say this, based on police work, great video, right? But we're also going to talk about the difference between what you see in this video and what a civilian can do, right? That is the difference. And this is the biggest issue, or I don't even want to say issue, right? Because again, you got so many people out there that butt be hurt, that think I don't like sport and I'm talking down about sport, and I'm not. I'm just drawing a clear line between the two, right? And the reason why I say sport is because police training is pretty much sport, right? That's what sport is pretty much modeled after, police training, okay? So without further ado, let's get into the video. All right, so as you can see there, the police are giving the guy commands. He's acting tough. He's not scared of the dog. You see the dog is activated. The guy is still walking forward, not complying to commands, right? Still walking forward, still walking forward. Then finally, they come to a stop. He put his arms out and he activated his dog, right? Now, here's the first thing I want you to notice, right? I don't know if this guy is souped up on some kind of drugs or whatever it may be. I don't know. He could be, he might not be, right? But I've talked about this in previous videos on how when adrenaline takes over, you really don't feel as much pain as you would think you would feel, right? Because in the moment, the adrenaline is shutting down those neural pathways to where your body is not feeling that pain, right? You're not getting the response that you would typically get to where if you're not in drive, right? Let's use dog terms. If you're not in drive, that adrenaline is not through the roof, you're not going to feel that pain, right? So this is a perfect example of how when a dog actually bites, right? Especially depending on how the dog is trained. Again, in this situation, this dog is taught to bite and hold and push in on the bite, right? So you're not going to get as much physical or psychological damage, right? And what I'm saying is a big difference between when a dog comes in and rips, right? And you see the skin ripping off your arm. Then your brain kind of resets, right? You're like, oh, I'm about to get eaten alive, right? Because you actually see the flesh coming off the bone, right? As opposed to dogs that are trained in the sport module or in the sport type training, right? They're taught to bite, push in on the bite. So again, in that heightened state of erratic emotions, you see the dog coming in, but it doesn't register the same because you're not actually seeing flesh being torn off of your body, right? So you feel like you can fight a little bit more, even if the dog punches in or counters, right? That's what they call it in the dog world. The dog counters because they feel you fighting, so you're countering, right? See, okay, let me say it like this. In nature, when a dog counters, how they teach sport dogs to counter, that's when they already have the prey basically in a position to where the prey is about to die. So they got the prey by the neck, right? They got it at the windpipe. The prey is still fighting. So the dog counters in and bites harder, right? So basically all you're doing is stopping the prey from being able to maneuver and get up, right? That's essentially what's going on. So when a predatory animal in nature counters, how you see they teach dogs to counter when fighting a man, right? It is not the same, because the dog, it is not 9 times out of 10 is not in an advantageous position to do that kind of countering, right? So the most advantageous thing for a dog to do, a personal protection dog, not an apprehension dog like a police dog, is slightly different, right? The most advantageous thing for a personal protection dog to do is to maneuver in a way to where it's tiring the person out, right? So it's giving it multiple bites, weakening the animal, right? Tiring the animal out, confusing the animal because it's hard for the animal to catch something that's moving or to protect itself against something that's moving, and at the same time try to get away from the dog biting it or whatever the animal is that's biting it, right? And that's what you see in nature. If you look at animals hunt in nature, they never stand toe to toe with the animal that's bigger than them because they understand if they get hurt, they die. So they avoid the antlers, they avoid the hog, tusk, right? They avoid the water buffalo's horns, right? They avoid those tools because they understand that, hey, if I get stabbed, I'm not going to make it. I'm going to die. So I need to stay engaged because I don't want this animal to get away. So I'm going to position myself in a way to where it's harder for that animal to use its tools, which is typically on its head, right? Some animals, they use their back feet, but it really just depends, right? So it's much harder for this animal to harm me if I maneuver in a way to where it's harder for the animal to use that one-dimensional tool, right? Now, here's the thing about humans. Humans are multi-dimensional, meaning they have multiple limbs that they can use independently at the same time. I can kick you with my left foot and stab you with my right hand, right? I can stab you with both hands. So if you teach a dog to fight one-dimensional and it's fighting a multi-dimensional being, you're already setting the dog up for failure, right? So hopefully that makes sense. Let's get back into the video. So you see the dog biting, and the guy's actually fending the dog off, right? If that guy had a weapon in his hand, right? If he had a knife, which in this situation, or even a gun, right? Because them officers really don't know, because they have not patted him down. They have not searched him, anything like that. He could have had a gun or a knife in his pocket. They don't know. If he would have pulled that knife out and started stabbing that dog, I guarantee you that dog would have let go. I guarantee you that dog would have let go. And if it didn't let go, right, it would have died right there on the spot. Now that police officer is without a partner, because it takes at least a year to train an efficient dog back up to be able to be, on where it's supposed to. Anyway, a lot of these dogs aren't trained how they're supposed to be trained, even in the police world, right? But theoretically speaking, it takes at least a year for that officer to replace that dog, right? Or let's be gracious, let's say 6 months. So now that officer has to go 6 months because of how the dog is taught to fight, which is not the most advantageous for the dog. So this is why when I say it is dumb for a civilian to hop in and help their dog fight, it is different than a police officer. Because if you really understand, when a dog is fighting a multi-dimensional being and you're teaching that dog to stay one-dimensional, it doesn't take a lot of common sense to know that, hey, this dog is in a losing battle, so let me help my partner, right? This is why you see the police officer immediately jump in when he saw the opportunity to apprehend the suspect, right? So again, folks, you really got to understand, when it comes to tactics, right? When it comes to defensive tactics, being a police officer has nothing to do with defense. It is actually all offense, right? It is all offense, because the officer is bringing the pain, right? Or bringing the fight to the person, because they're trying to apprehend the person. They're not trying to make the person suffer for coming to them and then make the person go away, right? That's what defense, that's what defense is about, is making the person suffer for thinking that they have, for having the audacity to even think they can harm you with a dog, right? And then when you see fit, when you see that that person is no longer trying to advance towards you, you need to get the hell up out of Dodge, right? And there's other things that I teach people to do in between time. So it helps the police, because the police are reactionary, right? They're not proactive, they're reactive, meaning you have to call them when the crime is pretty much already committed. So now they have to do things, right? An investigation to go find the people that tried to harm you. So what your job is to do, right, is to give them as many tools as you possibly can, right? And I almost named some of those things, but I'm not going to do it on this video because, again, my teacher, long live Gypsy, master teacher Gypsy Stratton, you cannot cast your pearls amongst swine. So there's a lot of other details in between when the dog bites and when you guys flee that that I teach my clients to do, that's going to help the police in the back end, right? It is not your job to be a police officer. It is your job to survive and get out of there unscathed. That is what your job is as a civilian. I don't care what none of these fake Rambo people, you know, in these groups on YouTube tell you, right? Let them go and get stabbed in their eye socket. Let them do that. For the regular everyday people that get up, go to work, have a family, want to come back home to their family, even if you don't have a family, you enjoy your life, you don't want to get stabbed, you don't want to get shot, right? Use your dog in a tactical manner to help you get away from the bad guy. Again, there's more details in between there, but I'm just going to leave it at that. So that way you and your dog can live to fight another day if you have to. Let's get back to the video. So you see the police officer came in, slammed the guy down to the ground, the other police officer coming in. But I promise you, if this dog was fighting on his own and the bad guy had a force multiplier like a gun or a knife, he would have been able to get that dog up off of him. For sure, he would have been able to get that dog off of him. I have no doubt in my mind he would have been able to get that dog off of him. But if that was a dog that was taught how to actually fight a human and not bite a human, there's a difference, right? This is a great biting dog. It is not a great fighting dog, right? There's a difference, right? If this dog was actually taught how to fight a human, and I actually did a video of a dog that was taught great on how to fight a human. So go check my last video out and you'll see what I'm talking about. But if this dog was taught how to fight a human properly, then this dog could have fought that human by itself and won that fight, right? And you still could have helped your dog from a distance, right? These are other techniques that I teach people, right? To make sure that the human stays safe. The number one job is to make sure that the human's life is preserved and then the animal's life, right? I don't care what none of these fur mommy and fur daddies tell you. An animal's life is not worth more than a human's life. It is not. I am not saying that an animal's life is not important. I am saying that a human's life is way more important. Humans are a necessity. Pets are not a necessity. They're not. I'm just being honest. So hopefully that makes sense. Any questions? Obviously you can reach out. If you have any videos that you want me to review, send them to my email, thestructuredk9academy@gmail.com. But do not try to send me the video itself. Just copy and paste the link to the video, email that to me, and then I'll review the video. So look, folks, as always, I'm not here to change your mind. I'm just here to give you the information so you can change your own mind. And with that being said, this is Brandon with the Structured K9 Academy. And until the next video, you are the master of your fate, the captain of your soul. Stay safe, better yet, stay dangerous. Peace and prosperity.